Yeah, well, we're moving along with that website, so once that's live.
Okay.
Welcome back, Periscope peeps.
Okay, going hot.
Welcome back, Periscope peeps. We had a phone call come into my cell phone while we were in the first segment. So any friends of mine who are listening, don't call me right now. You're going to eliminate Russia. We had at least 3 or 4 guests from Russia, and those guests were definitely excited to listen to our next guest. This is Pat Shan from Zenoscope. Pat, are you there?
I think so, right?
Yes, you're definitely there. I can hear you. So it's going really good. It's going really good. Today we're talking about a number of different comics-related subjects. And the number one subject that we're going to talk about is breaking into comics and the most memorable experience you can think of. But first, what do you think Deadpool is going to do? And are you going to be seeing it this weekend? Are you excited? Give me your thoughts.
I am going to be seeing it, yes. I'm going to be writing a piece on it actually for Blast Off Comics. But, I don't know how it's going to do. It's had this crazy, awesome, really smart marketing campaign. I mean, personally, the campaign has been a little bit grating recently because you have all these people that are just screaming about how kids shouldn't see Deadpool, and obviously that's true. But it's sort of because look how hardcore I am, which is. It's a big summer blockbuster. It's right in the middle of winter, so I have no idea how it's going to do. It's a really interesting thing to try to put this kind of juggernaut campaign behind a February movie. It's kind of gonna, I think, see how much steam the superhero industry still has. So yeah, I have no idea, but I'm very interested to see.
That's a good point, actually, too. What do you think? This is Valentine's Day weekend, too. I mean, can you picture taking your significant other, who may or may not have ever heard of this character, to see Deadpool?
Well, I'm gonna hopefully be doing so tomorrow, so I'll find out then.
She must really love you.
One of our first dates ever was Winter Soldier. She loved it. So thanks.
You have a winner there. It's funny. It's funny you mentioned too kids not seeing the movie. I was actually in Barnes and Noble yesterday, and I saw not one but 2 separate mothers buying Deadpool comics for their kids who are maybe like 6, 7 years old, maybe 8, maybe 9, 10. I can't judge. I'm having a kid next week, and I still don't even. I can't judge children's ages, but they were young. They were young, and the mothers were like, "What comic do you want? Oh, we want Deadpool. We want Deadpool." And so I kind of cringed a little bit. I actually tweeted Rob Liefeld that I cringed a little bit because it was cool that they wanted a Deadpool comic, but I don't know if their mothers knew exactly what they were getting for their kids there.
Right, yeah. I mean, honestly, though, if we look back at our childhood, I specifically remember having that friend who had the illegal pay-per-view. He was choosing illegal limitations, and there's just like 8, 9, 10-year-olds watching R-rated movies. It's going to happen to every generation, and I think that there's this big outcry because all these nerds like us,
Mm-hmm.
really, really are excited that they have their Deadpool, and they're protective of it, and they don't want some angry parents talking about how they fund their kids, et cetera. But there are always going to be kids who see R-rated movies, always going to be kids who pick up these comics they shouldn't, and I think that's okay. I don't think that Deadpool is going to damage these kids. I don't think that there's going to be that many parents upset, and if there is, who cares?
Mm-hmm.
I overall don't think that a parent backlash will have any impact on Deadpool's future.
Cool. You're absolutely right. I can't say you're wrong. But you're still going to hear that outcry. It's going to be interesting to see. I'm curious if it's the next Guardians of the Galaxy. I don't know if it's going to be. In fact, that's what I wrote in my blog. And you bring up this rabid fan base that wants their Deadpool. Guardians of the Galaxy had the luxury that no one read that book. there was no. I mean, I was a fan of the Valentino run in '92, but no one read Guardians of the Galaxy, the new one. I mean, and you know what? I think it was Mark Millar that wrote it. Great writer, great premise. Or actually, maybe it was Straczynski that wrote it. I can't remember off the top of my head. I'm sure our listeners will help me out with that, but it's so we'll wait and see. We'll wait and see. Let's shift gears over. Give me a little background for our listeners. What you do in comics. I know what you do, and I'm familiar with the company, but give us the lowdown.
Good. I am Pat, and I'm currently a staff writer and editor at Just Open New Hand. I write the multi-series Robyn Hood, Grim Fairy Tales, Charmed Season 10 based on the TV show, and some news here and there like Hellchild and Van Helsing. I'm the editor there on some titles such as Wonderland, and I'm also a freelance writer as well. I write the Charmed novels for HarperCollins and Joe Books.
Mm-hmm.
I'm working on some comic stuff as well. I have some career-owned comics in the works. I just did this one. I'm pushing this one hard because it just came out paperback. It's based it's comics anthology of queer historical fiction, and it's really cool. It's by all these different cartoonists and writers, and the case writing it blew past the goal. And I have a story in there that I co-created with the artist of Robyn Hood, Roberta Iguanata. And yeah, that is just a paperback. I'm excited about that. So I'm doing the Zenoscope stuff, the novels, and some stuff from the side as well.
That's awesome, and it's funny too because one of the things that, especially for people who are not in the industry, people within the industry, there is no. I mean, unless you're Brian Michael Bendis, Ed Brubaker, Robert Kirkman. I mean, you're multitasking. I mean, I'm writing comics, I'm drawing, prints and sketches. I'm writing music articles for AM New York. I'm designing websites. I'm doing graphic design work. I mean, it's amazing I'm glad you brought that up. So, how did you end up becoming a staff writer at Zenoscope? Because that's actually a fixed position, and that's something that I think a lot of talents would love to have is that security of having a fixed position in the industry. So how'd you get that? Or how'd you get there?
Well, when I first published my first comic, it was just a 2-page short. It was Angel at IW. They were publishing their final issue of Angel, and it was going to be an anthology. And I had become friends with those guys, the artists, the writers, the editors. So I reviewed it, we have to do all this tech stuff, all this side stuff, and one of my big things was reviewing specifically Angel and Bucky comics. So I knew all those guys, and they gave me a chance to pitch for the last thing out of the time for the art, and I got it. And then I used that as a stepping stone to try to get more work in the industry. And something I've never heard talked about much is, and I'm not sure how much I should talk about.
Please give us a scoop here.
In the industry, if you get one email from one company, you have everyone who works there.
Yeah.
Because if you see, say you email Zenoscope and someone replies to you about a question about sales, you'll see how they format the names in the email, and then all you have to do is look at the header, and that name is that email, right?
Yeah, you're right.
Literally every company. Just tell us that in any contact. So I came up for that stuff, who was the editor-in-chief there, because a friend of mine asked a sales question to the sales guy. So I got a Ralph email that way, and I don't think he remembers any of it. But
He does now. He will now if he listens to the podcast.
The PDF of Angel, and I sent him some pretty own stuff, just scripts you can see my sense of dialogue. So as an editor now, sending a script to an editor is not the thing to do,
Yeah.
But he was able to see that I had actually published something that was before game. So he gave me a shot. He first put me on probably their lowest ranking gig at that point, because it wasn't set in the schedule. It was something that they were working towards. it wasn't their like big release. It was a graphic novel of Spike TV's 1,000 Ways to Die adaptation. And I was fixing the script that hadn't been produced for this TV show. So it was 1,000 Ways to Die, like lesser script, and essentially turning them into comics. And so that they even had made the show. You know? So I was just telling the comic book version of an already televised show. So it was pretty much like he could have just published those as is, so it was almost a test, I think.
Sure.
To make sure that I was competent.
Uh-huh.
Because I guess that's he then hired me on some one-shots here and there. Like every year there's Fairy Tale series does a holiday special, an annual, all that kind of stuff. So I was the one working with that stuff. And by the time that I had been offered a miniseries, I had written a holiday special. I co-wrote a few pieces of an April Fool's one-shot. It was just little comedy stories. And I took some trivia on stuff to Ralph, and that impressed him. But at that point, I hadn't been given a mini. But then in mid-2012, they picked me up and asked me to do Robyn Hood. And once I got that, hold on, my cat is making a bunch of noise.
Always the hazards of that. Talk to me about the. Hang on, Pat. Talk to me.
I got Robyn Hood, and that was my first mini with the first big break. And then I started other book closer to the same month. Coming out in September 2012 was Robyn Hood and Godstorm. He told me that Godstorm had no writer.
Mm-hmm.
She got that. So I was suddenly writing 2 miniseries. And once both first issues were in, they liked them. And Ralph called me, asked how I was feeling about going exclusive. And I said, sure.
Yeah.
That was 2 years. 2 years of exclusive. I set up for them. And at the end of my run there, they offered me a salaried writer/editor job.
That's awesome. That's awesome. We have about 2 minutes before the break. Tell me quickly, if you can, and if not, we'll continue it after the break. Talk to me about the pitch process, because that's a question. Look, I've been pitching comics, and I'm always constantly trying to learn. Talk to me briefly, if you can, and like I said, we'll catch it up after break if we have to, about the pitch process. What are editors looking for, and how is the pitch like? How does it work for you guys?
All right. I'll try to be quick. It's rough because different publishers are looking for different things. Like at Zenoscope, they are looking for any creator of stuff. They are looking for any new ideas.
Mm-hmm.
We do all our ideas in-house and then hire out. So what we need there is someone hits me up and says, oh, I have this creator on pitch. I'll say, no, but you have these samples of already published work.
Mm-hmm.
They would have to send me an existing PDF on what content they've already done, art and letters. So we can easily go through it and see how they work with the artists,
Mm-hmm.
dialogues up point, all that stuff. And as far as samples, that is pretty much a sweeping, this is how you do it.
Mm-hmm.
No one wants to see script. Unless you're pitching a creator of a book. And if someone allows that, they want to see the full first issue usually, or at least 8 pages of the first issue, lettered, drawn, all that, and the script to see how you communicate with the artist to get that final.
Okay. All right. When we return, because we're going to be pushing right up against break here, Pat, I want to hear your most memorable comic experiences. How did you know you made it? So when we get back here, secretsofthesire.com with Pat Shand.
You're listening to the Talking Alternative Network.
I'm hoping the Periscope is picking up the speakers. I'm leaving them up. We're not getting any feedback.
Oh, good. All right. Periscope. We got one Periscope peep now. It's probably my wife. Oh, hello, MHTM. All Periscope people, we will be hitting you guys up at the end of this break. So,
Are you looking for a show where people talk about real stuff like life, love,
yep, hello. We're going to be addressing you guys. We're actually live on the radio. This is a break in between. We have a guest. So just bear with us, and we'll be hitting you guys up.
So tune in and call in live Wednesdays 8 to 8:30 on talkradio.nyc.
Hello, Betty Lamotte. I'm French. I don't understand. Oh, we are filming well, not filming. Well, we're periscoping my radio show podcast. It's actually a live radio stream on talkingalternative.com, and then we turn it into a podcast, and you can get it on iTunes if you search Secrets of the Sire. So we're actually live.
Going hot.
Welcome back. Secrets of the Sire, brought to you by our friends at Sports Tech. Check out their GoFundMe page. That's Sports, SPORTSTEK. GoFundMe.com. Improve your golf game. I would love to be golfing right now because it is ridiculously cold outside. Pat, you are now a native New Yorker. You recently moved out here now. What do you think of the cold? I think you were in San Diego, weren't you?
I was.
What were you thinking?
I think last night was cold. It's been the easiest winter ever.
Yes.
I know that that's because of bad issues, you know. If anyone doesn't believe in global warming, they're out of their minds. Right now, it's not as cold as it should be. This entire winter has been an absolute breeze. So I'm feeling great, you know. So long today, and it's actually freezing there in the morning.
Yeah.
I've been fine with it.
All right.
The thing about San Diego is they don't have, you have to buy air conditioner, you have to buy heat. Apartments don't have that there. They assume that you don't need that. But you do. So I'm actually more comfortable here.
Okay. Well, that's something I didn't know because now, obviously, you live out in San Diego, so I'm sure you've attended San Diego Comic-Con. What are your impressions there?
I did. I like you well enough. I also, on this front, I think that New York is better as far as Comic-Con goes.
Mm-hmm.
San Diego is too hectic.
It's a bonanza. It's crazy.
Yeah, and it's just, especially if you go there with a publisher, it's just a constant onslaught, you know. And the artist out of there isn't as, it's not as big of a draw usually because a lot of the people who go there are interested in seeing when Iron Man 14 is coming out.
Right.
It's not about the artist there, unfortunately.
I'll actually be there. I'll be there in Artist Alley this year. So first time in 13 years having a table out there. So it'll be neat to see what the experience is like for sure.
I will see you there.
Oh, awesome.
I will say, I love about that comment. I love the Eisner. I don't know what it is. I know that some people feel that workshops are empty.
Mm-hmm.
I've cried at every Eisner. Every time I see someone just floored that they won, it's a very emotional experience for me seeing someone in this industry where you work alone and you work kind of in a vacuum, you know?
Yeah.
It's very hard to hear back sometimes to hear people think, but these people just so pleased that they won is something that's awesome to me. And that's exclusive to the Eisner being a separate Oscars.
Yep.
So
Yep. So you described emotional experience. I kind of recounted for our listeners in the first segment my, making it moment. I had two moments. One was at a Wizard World Chicago in 2006 when the Sire was first published, and a guy came up to me with a blank cover. Not blank cover, just wasn't autographed, and my initial instinct was to be like, well, I didn't sign this for you when I sold it to you, and he said, no, I bought this in a store, and I knew you were going to be here, and I wanted to get your autograph. That was my making it moment in comics when I first realized I was a professional. What kind of experience do you have, or do you have something where you kind of sat back and go, holy crap, I'm making comics now?
Yeah, it was more of a build of two separate moments.
Mm-hmm.
Like, honestly, the first time that I went to a comic book store, and it was the day that Angel yearbook was coming out, the first one I was in,
Mm-hmm.
and I saw it on the shelf next to the second comic book that horse that Josh Whedon himself was writing. So those two together, and I was like, shit. Buffy and Angel to me are the best shows of all time.
Yeah.
In that. And that's awesome. Another time was...
That's just great, actually. Hang on, that's just great, because I'm a huge Buffy fan. I'm loving the run that Dark Horse is doing right now. I think Angel is an underrated character that was actually an underrated show. Spike's my guy though. I was always a big Spike guy. I think that was my favorite guy. So that's got to be really neat. I mean, I knew the editor at Buffy, or the Buffy editor, but he was there very briefly. It was Jim Gibbons, but he's now moved on to another company now. So in the back of my head, I was always like, man, I would love to take a crack at this universe, and you got to actually do that. What was that like?
I mean, it was the best. I couldn't imagine a better first pick because I love to write for my own disease. I love to keep always like superheroes, but to me, it's Buffy and Angel. Those are my superheroes.
Yeah.
I wasn't raised on superheroes. I enjoy it now as an adult, but that wasn't my childhood, so I don't have that nostalgia. But Buffy, I've held the idea that Buffy is the best show of all time. There's been no movement there. So that's been my hero. So yeah, it was very much a unicorn show.
That's awesome, and you got to see it on the shelf. How's the convention experience for you? The interaction with fans, what's that like for you?
I mean, as far as these big moments that you were mentioning, the first time that someone came up to me and cried was incredible. I mean, I've never heard of it, and she just had this backpack. It wasn't even a backpack. It was a luggage bag full of comics. And the last Comic Con I went to before that one, I had I think Robyn Hood was just coming out.
Mm-hmm.
And I think there's some small conventions between these ones. But at this con, I have published 80 comics in a year.
Yeah.
She has all of them. She has every variant. I just spent an hour and had it a couple of times since then. And it's mind-boggling to me. Why would you like me that much? I have no idea.
My engineer Sam actually, he kind of opened his mouth wide when you said that, and I've actually had a similar experience. I was at Heroes Con back in 2010, and this guy rolled up with his, they got their roller with the long box in it, and he reached in to one of the sections and pulled out a stack. I mean, I think I've had about 15 comics published in my lifetime, my career so far to date, and more coming hopefully in the future. But he reached in and pulled out every single book I'd ever done anything. So I've colored books, I've written books, and recently just drew a book, and very poorly I might add. And he pulled out everything I'd ever done. He's like, "Yep, you're on my list. Here's this," and he pulled out a book I colored for Silent Devil back in 2005. I don't know if you remember Silent Devil. That was a great little indie startup, got a lot of press in Wizard. I mean, I was shocked. I was like, "You have this book? Like, no one has this book. I know no one has this book because no one bought this book. I would be working on this book if people bought this book, and you own this book." So give our listeners your tips on making it. You mentioned networking, I think and I'd love to talk about that with you too, because I think that's just a key component that a lot of people don't realize. But what are your key tips for people? If we have Periscope people streaming the show right now from different countries, we have listeners on talkingalternative.com at all, from the entire globe. And you're a 14-year-old kid somewhere in Russia or France or the U.S. and you want to make comics. Give that him or her your advice.
All right, my number one advice is just make the comics, because the thing that's the most common that boggles my mind is this: a writer messages me or emails me on any platform. I'll talk to you. I get a message and they have no samples to show me, no published work, no self-published PDF, nothing. And I say, hey, the best thing that you could do is pay as an artist, get your stuff lettered, and come back to me, and I'll look at this. And the response is 90% of the time a hand artist, and it's great.
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't matter. You should never tell the editor that, because right now the editor has requested something from you, and you are in turn thinking of the editor.
Yep.
You should be doing everything artist at first. You know, I hired some guy, this guy who was essentially drawing the color pencil. It's better than I could, of course.
Uh-huh.
$10 a page, and we got a pencil done. I was like 20 years old then.
Yeah.
I didn't have any money.
Mm-hmm.
I just found quarters, and I took the quarters to the bank, got a few dollars, and then I went to somewhere where I could wire this back the money. You know,
Mm-hmm.
I had no money. So I needed to get this stuff to have a sample.
Yep.
And that sample is the most important thing you can have. This is proof that not only can you write, not only can you create dialogue, but that you're not going to be one of those people who makes excuses for themselves. That's rare. It's shockingly rare.
I think you touch on a really, really good point there, because that's, people come up to me at conventions. I want to do comics. I want to do comics. And some, I mean, look, you have some young kids come up to you with their sketchbooks, and the first words out of my mouth are, okay, we need to see some sequentials. But you can tell they're learning. They haven't taken any art classes. They're not like the next Jim Lee in terms of raw talent. But that doesn't mean they're not going to make it if they try. But my advice is always make comics. Okay, go out and make comics. And Tom Hutchinson of Big Dog Inc. I'm sure you've heard of that. Yeah, he actually came up to my table in Wizard World, Los Angeles, 2007, and he's like, "Hey, I love the book. I love the Sire." He's like, "I want to make my own comics. What advice?" And I'm like, "Go make them. Just go make them." And he actually, the funny thing is, he actually ended up doing it better than I even did in terms of the marketing and promotion. Like, he got it. Like, and to this day, like, I am like so proud. I'm not claiming any success of his is thanks to a few sentences at a convention, but I do sit back and say, like, that guy totally gets it. He went out there and then he would visit comic stores. It was just great, and I love to see the next up and coming comic book writer artist do the same. So we are coming up against the break. Pat, it has been a pleasure having you on, and we're going to definitely talk some more as well. We'll see each other. You're in New York, so we'll definitely catch up as well. We have a minute to go. Give everyone a rundown of some upcoming projects that you'd like to plug, because we have no shame on this show, and we are here to plug as many of our friends as possible. So, 30 seconds. Give me some stuff you're working on.
All right, great. On social media, I'm Pat Shand. There I just post the link to pre-order the 8th anthology paperback. I'll have Hellpile #1 of the Brandon miniseries coming out in March. The last issue of Robyn Hood is coming out in April. It's a big one-shot finale. You can come on without ever having read anything. And I'm still on television Vertigo.
That's awesome. It's Zenescope.com, right? Zenescope.com?
Yeah.
Okay. Go to Zenescope.com, but not until the show is over on TalkingAlternative.com. Keep streaming us. Pat, thank you so much. When we come back, we're going to be hearing some more comic book experiences from industry professionals. Secrets of the Sire, TalkingAlternative.com.
You're listening to the Talking Alternative Network.
Okay, he dropped. Cool.
Yeah, that was good.
That was good. Just next time when someone's like, get in touch with me, my name is whatever, just make sure, like, Pat Shand, how do you spell Shand?
Ah, yeah.
You know what I mean? So, just little things like that. You remember, when people are listening, they're not seeing what you're saying.
Yeah.
So,
Mm-hmm.
you should be a little cognizant of.
Hey, Periscope peeps, I know we can't broadcast the show through you just yet. I'll get the right cord next week. If you got any questions or anything, Deadpool movie breaking into comics, we'll be dealing with that in the last segment here. So please send some stuff in. It'd be great.
Going hot.
Welcome back. Secrets of the Sire. Talking comics, movies, TV, pop culture on talkingalternative.com every Friday, 11 a.m. Eastern. We're the fun hour. We talk about all the cool things. I want to thank my guest, Pat Shand. I can spell his name S-H-A-N-D. If anybody wants to look him up, go to zenescope.com. He's doing a lot of cool things. I want to give a shout out to some friends as well at the Long Beach Comic Expo. A lot of great people put on a great, tremendously great show in Long Beach. They also put on the New Jersey Comic Book Expo that just took place in November. But Long Beach Comic Expo is taking place February 20th to the 21st. It's at the Long Beach Convention Center. They have the big show is in September. Great guys, great show, great comic book show. So check them out at longbeachcomicexpo.com. And I also want to thank our sponsors as well, which is Sports Tech. Sports Tech will help you improve your golf game. And if you've heard my story of how awful I am, I need this just as well as anyone else. It's great. Go be a part of the creation. Visit their page, gofundme.com/sportstechtek. If you are interested in becoming a sponsor, go to thesecretsofthesire.com. There's a big thing that says become a sponsor. We've got some awesome packages. Get your message heard worldwide. We're streaming on Periscope as well. My handle is at Michael_Dolce. I feel kind of bad for the Periscope peeps sometimes because they they can't hear the full show, but we're working on that, and they will be able to hear the interviews going forward starting next week. It'd be pretty cool. Although, ironically enough, I don't think we have an interview next week, but that's okay. Talking comics, the most memorable moments. Good friend of mine, Talent Caldwell, he liked to describe his comic book experience as the Aaron Rodgers experience. He was groomed under Michael Turner. Michael Turner was one of the best and most successful artists in the industry. Passed away from cancer about 10 years ago, very young, was 30, I think he was 37. His work is still, to this day, just recognized everywhere. And Tal got to actually work under him, and it was really, really great. And he said, my most memorable experience, too many to rank. However, I can say with absolute conviction, my most grateful experience were my first few years at Top Cow, the art studio bullpen atmosphere of a collection of some of the best professionals, intermixed with a rotary of art interns, graphic designers, and behind-the-scenes look at production of comic books, all helped me grow and mature as an artist, as a professional, and as a man. I'm so very grateful for that time to have been a part of it and develop in the art studio system. And that's the thing, that's what we're kind of talking about. There's so many different roads, there's so many different avenues, there's so many different ways that you can kind of consider you having made it in the industry. We talked about my experience at Chicago Comic-Con, having somebody that I had never met before buy my book, come on out. Pat Shand, our guest, editor-writer at Zenescope, he actually brought up another moment that I had at a convention. Someone bought the book on a Friday, came back immediately on a Saturday, said, the Sire is great, this is really awesome, and she drew me a sketch. And I have it. It was a sketch of one of the characters called Bard. That was her favorite character. I got that framed sitting in my studio, and it still kind of makes me laugh and makes me smile that something that I did had an impact on somebody I had never met previous to before they picked up that book. So it's really, really cool. Mark McKenna, a good friend of mine, and he's actually a longtime Marvel inker. I mean, this guy has done you name it. I mean, Punisher, X-Men, Spider-Man. He's inked it all. He wrote in, my first officially printed work was for Marvel. When I was on staff in 1986, I inked 2 or 3 pages in Sectors number 4. I've never even heard of that book, but you got to start somewhere. And I recall slaving over those pages, and then to see my name in the credits felt like I made it. And Pat kind of talked about it too, walking into a comic book store, seeing your name, on the label, on the cover of a comic book. For Pat, it was Angel, which is one of my all-time favorite characters, the Buffy universe. For Mark McKenna, he worked on a no-name book you've never heard of. I did the same thing too. I worked, on some pretty obscure books. I got to do some coloring for Bubba the Redneck Werewolf, which will be Sam laughed at that one. My man Mitch Hyman, I hope you're listening out there. The Bubba movie is coming out. It's awesome. Really, really cool stuff. But yeah, I mean, back then it was indie guys like us just slaving, trying to get stuff out, and that's what you got to do to make it. I mean, it's networking, it's slaving, it's working, it's doing whatever you can, and it's getting stuff out. Gail Simone was kind enough to hit me on Twitter. No, hit me up on Twitter. She can't literally hit me. She's actually a Deadpool writer. So writing Deadpool was a blast. I couldn't believe people actually wanted to read the odd noises in my brain. A lot of us feel this way. When I write, I tend to just write something that I would want to read, and I hope that other people want to read it. Same thing when I'm on the air right now. I just talk, and I hope that people want to hear me. And it's an awe-inspiring feeling. We got Russell Brett Holtz. Now, I don't know Russell. I'm friends with Mark. I'm friends with Tal. I know Gail. I'm actually good friends with her penciler Jim Calafiore, who they do Leaving Megalopolis for Dark Horse Comics. It was actually a Kickstarter campaign, and they got picked up by Dark Horse. But Russell actually came out to the Secrets of the Sire Facebook page. I'd asked for any comic book peeps, and always loved the interaction. His first experience was near Comic-Con 2015, working the Darby Pop booth, selling my debut comic, Sidekicked. Sold out every last copy the publisher brought at 5 on Saturday night. Just the most incredible feeling of accomplishment. That's a big thing too. And Russell, thank you. Check out Sidekicked Comics on Facebook. You can actually link over there. It's on the Secrets of the Sire page. It's interesting. The comic book convention has shifted over the last, 5 years or so. New York Comic-Con is an absolute beast. That's my home base, so I'm there all 4 or 5 days. It's gone from the comic book reader to the comic book enthusiast, the comic character enthusiast, the comic costume, cosplay enthusiast, to people that just enjoy the artwork, or just enjoy the characters, or just want to try something new, or read something, or experience something that they've never experienced before. And this year's show was the first year that I had started doing prints, where, not the first show, I guess last year was the first show, but my partner in crime at these conventions, talented writer named James Macia, went to college with him. He's actually written some really, really cool underground indie books. The Poe Murders. Go look up the Poe Murders. It takes all of Edgar Allan Poe's stories and mashes them up into one graphic novel murder mystery. He started saying, we need to start doing some prints, and I'm like, I don't want to make it as prints. I want to make, I want people to read my comics. I'm not, I'll do sketches. I love doing sketches. I love the interaction. But prints, it's like, boy, that just seems like all business to me. And he says, no, we got to do it. And he, inspired me. He blew me out of the water in terms of the amount of prints that he was able to do. And his prints are extremely clever. A lot of mashups, a lot of Deadpool riding a chocobo, the Jawas unhinging the Doctor Who's phone booth, the tortoise, and walking away with it. I mean, these are really clever prints. They're awesome. Look up James Macia. He's on DeviantArt. He's on Facebook. He's on one of the store sites too. TeePublic. You can check out his stuff on TeePublic. Really, really cool stuff. And this year I started doing a print. I did an exclusive print for New York Comic-Con and it was Tom Brady as the Deflator, based on the classic Frank Miller Wolverine #1 cover. So it's got Tom Brady with a crazed look in his eyes and his claws popped. And he's saying, "Come here, balls." I'll post that to Secrets of the Sire page a little later today. And it was cool. And just kind of like what Russell said, we did an exclusive about 100 prints, nearly sold out of all of them. James had a Mets versus Yankees X-Men print that he had kind of come up with, and he sold out of all 50 of his. And there's a feeling of satisfaction, and there's a feeling of accomplishment. And the one thing that, the one takeaway from today is this feeling can be experienced if you want it hard enough, if you want it enough, and you're willing to do the work. And I was always willing to do the work, but I didn't understand just the level, that you need to consistently keep putting work out. And so for every up-and-coming person out there that is interested in breaking into the comic book medium, that's my one advice, and it's the same advice I gave, 10 years ago that I'm going to give today, is that you just got to work and just keep putting books out. We had a tremendous show today. Again, I want to thank my sponsors, Sports Tech, SportsTek. You can go to the GoFundMe page under that name and go check out their awesome product that they're hoping to launch into the world. It's great stuff. If you want to become a sponsor, go to secretsofthesire.com/sponsor. It's pretty easy. There's a Become a Sponsor right there on the homepage. You can always click on that. If you're interested in any of the books that I've done, go to mikebooks.com. There's also a link on the Secrets of the Sire page. We are shameless pluggers of our wares here. I want to thank Pat Shand, Zenescope.com. Go check him out. He's got Robyn Hood. He's got a whole bunch of really, really awesome comics that he's been working on. And next week, assuming my wife does not go into labor, we are on Baby Watch 2016. We're going to be talking Walking Dead. Walking Dead is coming back. I'm going to give you my take on Walking Dead. I actually think the TV show is way better than the comic, and I'll tell you exactly why. And I'm sure that will ruffle a few feathers, but we're going to talk about comic book-based TV shows like Walking Dead and TV shows that are actually better than the source material they came from. This has been Secrets of the Sire. Catch us on Periscope at Michael_Dolce, Twitter.com/Michael_Dolce. We'll have a show page starting next week, and it's been a blast. And coming up next, we've got Joan and JC. Joan is actually waving to me from the studio. Thanks to my Periscope peeps for tuning in. 21st Century Entrepreneur coming up next. Thank you for listening. Oop, as I go. Take a look at the studio before we sign off, but I gotta hurry. The next show. That's Joan.
Hi.
That's Joan's guest. That's Sam. That's me. Thank you guys. I'll be posting this to YouTube and a whole bunch of other cool stuff. See you next week.